All right, today it is Mock Draft Monday, going through our first mock draft of the season, also talking about a bunch of the free agency moves that happened over the weekend. Let's get to it. Welcome into the NFL War Room podcast. I'm your host, Matt Stopsky. Sorry for the late start today. We had a bit of a long weekend, so this won't get up until probably early afternoon Monday. So just enough time for you guys to listen to it on your way home from work Monday afternoon. A lot of stuff happened over the weekend. A ton of free agency moves. We'll talk about those real quick before we get into the mock draft. So the big news. I won't go so much into if it's a good news or a bad. This is more just an update. Chris Jones signs that massive deal, now the highest paid defensive tackle in the NFL. Good for him. He was a big reason why the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, so that's good for him. Detroit re-signs Graham Glasgow, their interior offensive lineman, to a deal worth $6.67 million a year over 3 years, 9.5 guaranteed. Not bad. The Jaguars sign formerly cut Bills Pro Bowl center Mitch Morse, so he wasn't afraid for very long. Same thing for Russell Wilson, who got cut by the Broncos. I'm not even sure if he's officially cut yet, but no, he was cut. I think they gave him like an early time to work out a deal. But he's now a Pittsburgh Steeler on a very cheap 1.21 1-year deal. The Buccaneers re-signed Pro Bowl quarterback, alternate, but Pro Bowler, Baker Mayfield to a 3-year, $100 million deal. $50 million of that guaranteed. Chicago signs recently cut Eagles safety, Pro Bowl and All-Pro safety, Kevin Byard, to a 2-year, $15 million deal, so around $7.5 million per year. No word on the guaranteed money yet. But again, another guy that was not a free agent for very long. And then two guys who never made it to free agency. New England re-signs receiver Kendrick Bourne to a 3-year, $33 million deal. And Vegas signs center Andre James to a 3-year, $24 million, $8 million per year deal with $16 million guaranteed. For the other news, Fletcher Cox retires. So the Eagles are now in full rebuild mode on both sides of the line. Obviously, they still have a bunch of guys left over like Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, who are two of the best in the NFL. And on the defensive side, they still have some great pass rushers, but you've lost now both of your leaders. So who are you replacing these leaders with in Jason Kelce and Fletcher Cox? So it's definitely a bit of a rebuild for them in terms of maybe more of a reload than a rebuild. But the 2024 Eagles are not going to feel the same as the 2023 Eagles. Mac Jones, Patriots Pro Bowl quarterback, again, alternate but Pro Bowler, traded to Jaguars for a 6th-round pick. That's just, a flyer by Jacksonville to see what he has left. San Fran cut Eric Armstead, who will be 30 at the start of 2024. They're going to take either $25.9 million cap hit next year if it's a pre-June 1st cut, or a $10.3 million cap hit this year if it's a post-June 1 cut per OTC, which is over the cap. The Packers cut all-pro linebacker Devondre Campbell, who'll be 31 at the start of the season. That will be a much smaller cut than Eric Armstead, $11.6 million in 2024 if it's a pre-June 1 cut, $3.66 if it's a post-June 1 cut. And the more surprising one, Bradley Bozeman, the center for Carolina, I think he played guard for a bit in Baltimore. The one who just signed a 3-year, $18 million a year deal in 2023, he gets cut. He'll be 29 at the start of 2024 season. So they're going to take a dead cap hit around $7.28 million if it's a pre-June 1 cut, $5.64 if it's a post-June 1 cut. So that one was a little surprising. So those are all the ones that happened so far. A lot more is going to happen Monday at noon. We're going to find news is going to break fast. So we'll talk about a lot about that tomorrow. I think it'll probably just be me. I was going to want to go over all this because it's going to be a ton of news. But let's get into our mock draft, because I don't do these very often, especially not this early. I usually like to wait until later. So I'm bringing up the PFF mock draft simulator. It's my favorite one, mainly because it came out when I was there. So I have a lot of love for it. How I'm going to do this mock draft, I'm going to try to do it how I feel it will go down. Obviously, a lot is going to change in the next 72 hours. But as of right now, how I think it's going to go down. So we'll start with the Bears. They're taking Caleb Williams. Like, that's just, it seems like a foregone conclusion that they are taking Caleb Williams. Where it starts to become messy is at pick 2 with Washington. Do they take Drake May? Do they take Jaden Daniels? There has been a serious push for Jaden Daniels to be QB2. I don't know where this Drake May hate's coming from. Not that I think Drake May is amazing, but now it's almost slander. Being talked about QB4, QB6, nuts. He's QB3 at the lowest, in my opinion, and I think it will end up working out that way come late April. But for now, I do think it's going to be Jaden Daniels. If Washington is there at 2, if they don't trade back, I do think Jaden Daniels goes here at 2. With the Patriots, I think the Patriots are in prime trade down spot, right? They have so much work that has to be done to this roster. Now, we'll see what happens over the next 72 hours in free agency. Some things might get fixed. But as of right now, the Patriots need so much more than just a quarterback. And my worry is when we take a quarterback this early on a team that's this bad, they never hit their projection, right? Just there's too much work that has to be overcome by one person. And while they might be productive, they'll never be they'll never hit the production standards we had for them pre-draft. So Drake May, I think, if he goes to New England, I think is going to have a hard time in New England, especially early on. So, but if they are stuck at 3, they cannot pass up on a quarterback. They either have to take a quarterback at 3 or trade down. Here, no trades today. They take Drake May at 3. For 4, nothing like coughing mid mock draft. Number 4, again, I think this is a trade down spot. However, I do think that they have their eyes on Marvin Harrison Jr. I think that is pretty clear at this point. Where I do think the first, if it doesn't happen with the Patriots, the next trade down, the most likely trade down spot for me, I think, is the Chargers, because I do think a team like Minnesota or Denver will trade up for JJ McCarthy. I don't know if I agree with that move, but I think it's what's going to happen. However, you're the Chargers. You're stuck at 5. No one's moving up. Who are you taking at 5? You know, right now, the consensus seems to be Joe Alt, the tackle at Notre Dame. The analysis from PFF says Brock Bowers is getting a lot of love, and then Malik Neighbors and Joe Alt. Brock Bowers at 5 seems a little sweet for me, honestly. I think it's a little high, right? We look at guys like Charlie Campbell, my buddy at Walter Football. He's projecting Dallas Turner, the outside linebacker from Alabama, moving all the way up to 5, which I think is a possibility. I think Lance Zierlein had Marvin Harrison Jr. He has Malik Neighbors going above Marvin Harrison, which I have heard before, but I think right now Marvin is pretty secure at the number 1 receiver pick at number 4 to Arizona. I could see the Chargers taking Malik Neighbors. And then you look at guys like, you know, where does the consensus board rank, right? So the consensus board right now, the best player available would be Brock Bowers, then Malik Neighbors, then Joe Alt. And like the grinding the mocks, I believe has who would be the next guy up would be a Malik Neighbors. All right, so it seems like it's Malik Neighbors, Joe Alt, right? Because I do think in the end it's gonna be Malik Neighbors. I would probably take Joe Alt if it was me, and we'll do a one where if I'm the GM of all 32 teams. But for right now, what I think it's gonna happen, I think right now, March 11th, Los Angeles is stuck at 5. Marvin Harrison Jr. is gone. Malik Neighbors is the pick. Now we have the New York Giants. New York Giants is a little interesting, right? There's talks about J.J. McCarthy being picked at number 6. Now, there was talk about Russell Wilson going to the Giants. That's not happening any longer. That would have changed a lot of things, but he did not. So there's talks about the Giants liking Malik Neighbors. I can see that. Joe Shane loves receivers who had high yards per route run. Malik Neighbors led the draft class in yards per route run. So I could definitely see Malik Neighbors falls to 6. I don't know if he gets past the New York Giants. However, is 6 too high for Rome Odunze? I don't know. Some would say yes. I would say no. I like Rome a lot. But do the Giants like Rome? Rome did not have the best yards per route run. I don't know if he's going to fit them at 6. Charlie Campbell has Malik Neighbors going at 6. Obviously, he's not available. Lance Zierlein has J.C. Latham at 6. I don't know if J.C. Latham goes over Joe Alt. I think that's probably a little high. The best player available right now, according to the consensus draft board, Brock Bowers, then Joe Alt. Grinding the mocks would have it as Joe Alt. Because it's kind of a toss-up, and let's see what the analysis says on PFF. Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, Jaden Daniels, Joe Alt. While I do like Rome, if Joe Alt is there at 6 and Malik Neighbors is not there, Joe Alt is the pick. They have to fix that offensive line. Evan Neal had struggled last year with injuries. I still think he's going to be a good player, whether it's at tackle or guard, but they need one more piece in that offensive line to really shore it up. You don't need 5 All-Pros, but you need at least 5 good pieces. And right now with John Michael Schmitz at center, Andrew Thomas at left tackle, Evan Neal is going to fit on that line somewhere, whether it's right tackle or right guard. Granted, and I think people are a little too hard on Evan Neal. It takes time to develop as an offensive lineman. Not everyone could be like Andrew Thomas and by 3rd year be an All-Pro. Evan Neal's only in the 2nd year. We're now going to his 3rd year, and he was hindered by injury a lot for year 2. So I think we still have to give him some room to develop and grow. I think a lot will be shown in his 3rd year about where he'll end up. But for right now, March 11th, I still have faith in Evan Neal. But I'm taking Joe Alt to either play a guard, play a guard for a bit, and then move the tackle, or stay a guard as Evan Neal grows at the right tackle spot. So either way, we're looking pretty good. That'd be 4 offensive linemen. That's pretty solid. It was a long weekend. I'm dying over here. And not like long weekend like I used to have when I was younger and, go out and drink and stuff. Long weekend, like I had a lot of furniture come, and then my friends came over and had Chinese food, and that is a lot for me these days. So sorry about the disheveled look and the constant muting my mic so I can cough. But the producer brain in me is going, don't stay silent for too long. The automation will kick in. But we're a podcast. That doesn't happen. But it's just the producer brain never shuts off. The Titans at 7. Right now, this is a question here, right? So, with McCarthy still on the board, Minnesota, Denver, definitely 2 trade-up options here. If Tennessee is stuck, the analysis says Joe Alt, Rome Odunze, Oli Fashanu. I think that's probably probably Rome or Fashanu is probably your although I'm sure I'm pronouncing his name wrong, so my apologies. According to Charlie, has Joe Alt going 7 to Tennessee. Lance Zierlein has Joe Alt going there. So obviously Joe Alton's gone already at this point. So, do they take a J.C. Latham, right? Or is it going to be Oli Fashanu from Pittsburgh, from Penn State? It seems like the consensus is Fashanu, which again I keep saying his name, although I am 100% sure I am mispronouncing it. So my apologies. And he would be the next guy out that's not named Brock Bowers on the consensus big board. So we're going with that. Going ahead of J.C. Latham, who was getting a lot of love recently. So he'll be the 2nd tackle off the board. So go tackle in this draft. Next is the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons here, I think, is going to be where Dallas Turner goes after that ridiculous combine. I think he jumps into the top 10, and he's the first edge player taken off the board. The Chicago Bears at pick 9. Pick 9 Bears. Roma Dunze seems like that's probably a pretty safe pick there. If they're taking if they're stuck there, they don't trade back with a Denver or a Minnesota. You could argue Brock Bowers, but I still think Brock Bowers falls outside the top 10. Roma Dunze here to the Chicago Bears seems to make a lot of sense. The New York Jets need a ton of help on the offensive line. However, Brock Bowers is now sitting there, who's according to the consensus big board, Brock Bowers is like the 4th best player in the draft. So, and I agree. I think he's really good. Do they go, we need line help, but how do you pass up Brock Bowers? My rebuttal would be, have you seen Kyle Pitts? Like, Kyle Pitts was one of the best tight ends I've seen come out, and has been underwhelming in Atlanta. How much of that was on Arthur Smith? How much of that is just he's a young tight end? Tight ends take a long time to develop. But then again, look at last year's draft. Dalton Kincaid's the first guy off the board. Sam LaPorta in the second round is by and far the best tight end from that class. So I would say they probably don't take Brock Bowers here. Do they take the tackle from Oregon State? That seems to be the pick. I have to rewatch a lot of these tackles. I went through an initial watch earlier in the year, like right after the season. So I haven't had really a chance to watch him yet. I've heard good things. That's going to be like this week, because we're doing an offensive line this week on the Sumer Sports Draft Show on Sirius NFL Radio at 7 p.m. As I just ran that out there, which is going to be a great show, because we're going to talk about a little bit about free agency, about how that impacts your draft strategy. We're going to have Jeff Schwartz on to talk about a paper that him and Eric wrote about offensive line play. And then we're going to talk about offensive lineman in the draft. So, he'll be mentioned. Do I even attempt this name? Talesi Fuaga? Maybe. We'll see. I'm telling you right now, I have my inner monologue is just Alex Marvez screaming at me, because Alex Marvez loves to get names right, and I'm indifferent. So I just hear him yelling at me in my head, like, "You're sounding unprofessional. Get the name right." But once the pronunciations come out, and I'll make sure I have all the guys in the first round pronounced properly. Everyone outside the first round, though, no, you're shit out of luck. Minnesota here, absolutely going to go JJ McCarthy. That's just like a foregone conclusion. Done. And then I think pick 12, next quarterback off the board, Bo Nix to Denver. It is what it is. That's that's how it's going right now for those teams. A lot could change, though, in the next 72 hours, and also could change on draft day. I think both these teams will be fighting to move up to pick 5. The next pick, 13, to Las Vegas. Fuaga, projected by Charlie Campbell. Lance Zierlein has Byron Murphy, who's already gone in Charlie's mock draft. So that's a chance that might be the pick. Analysis from PFF. Jaden Daniels already gone. Byron Murphy was the next guy up. Fuaga would be the next one. Fashanu, and then we're down to Terrion Arnold there. So I do think D-tackle Byron Murphy, the second from Texas, is the pick at pick 13, which I think if you're Vegas, you're very happy, because that's a guy that's projected to go much higher. That gets pushed down because of all this QB movement. To the Saints, right? The Saints, Charlie has J.C. Latham. Going to New Orleans, Lance Zierlein had Troy Futanu. Okay, I butchered that one for Washington. So it seems like they're looking tackle here, but do you take Brock Bowers? And this is where the draft's going to look at, right? You're going to be looking at Brock Bowers in the green room the entire time. Brock Bowers is sitting here at 14. At one time, Brock Bowers was being talked about as top 5. Where does Brock Bowers go? Everyone's looking at that young kid. It's going to be a long night for him. I do think they go with the tackle from Washington, though. They just need tackle help so bad. For the Colts, this, I think, is a pretty consensus at this point. It's going to be corner, and I think the consensus right now is the best corner is Terrion Arnold from Alabama. who I actually loved a lot. I liked him more than I liked Kool-Aid McKinstry coming out. So I'm happy that he's like started to get some recognition. So Arnold is the first corner off the board at 15 to Indianapolis. Pick 16, the Seahawks. In Charlie's draft and Lance's draft, both have tackles. Both those tackles are gone. Let's look at the analysis here. Jared Verse, that could be an interesting pick, or Jackson Powers Johnson, the center. Let's take a look. The consensus mock draft has Byron Murphy. So now we're looking here. Do you take Jared Verse? Jared Verse, according to the consensus big board, is the number 12 pick, number 12 prospect. Getting him at 16 is good value, right? Or do you do Latu, the edge rusher from UCLA, or do you take Brock Bowers here? And that's the real question. I do think, let's go with the PFF analysis here. What Seahawks fans want and what Seahawks fans need is Jared Verse. Albany alumni, Jared Verse. There we go, repping those SUNY schools. Jacksonville at pick 17 for their future Hall of Fame quarterback, Mac Jones. Lance Zierlein has Terrion Arnold going at 17 to Jacksonville. He's already gone. And actually, so does Charlie, has Terrion Arnold there. So instead, we'll give them Quinyon Mitchell from Toledo, who I think is still in the discussion to be QB1. Sorry, CB1, not QB1, CB1. When it's all said and done, that could absolutely swap with Indianapolis from pick 15, pick 17. So we'll see how we'll have to watch that as it gets closer. Pick 18 with the Bengals. The Bungles, Fashanu on Charlie's mock, he's gone. Brian Thomas Jr., interesting, on Lance's mock. The consensus mock has J.C. Latham. J.C. Latham is everywhere. Grinding the mocks has the best player available. No one left in the top 10. That's good, at least. Brock Bowers, no shit. And then J.C. Latham. And the big board, Brock Bowers, Latu, Latham. What do the fans want? The fans want Latham. The fans are going to get Latham. Boom. Hopefully this Alabama tackle works out better than Jonah Williams for you guys. Pick 19. I keep moving the thing, so my apologies if you're watching this. I keep moving the thing on you, so I'm sure that's just super annoying. Yep. Sorry. Pick 19 to the Los Angeles Rams. Charlie has them taking Latu. That's where he has them going, and Lance has him trading out with Houston, so that's not going to help at all. Latu seems like he is the consensus there, so we will give him Leati Latu from UCLA, who I love a lot. I think you're getting some good value there. I think he's being pushed down a lot for his injury history. So if he can stay healthy, it's a hell of a pick. Pick 20 with Russell Wilson in the Pittsburgh Steelers. Brian Thomas Jr. is in Charlie's mock. Nate Wiggins in Lance's mock. The consensus seems Jackson Powers Johnson. So nobody knows. The analysis, Jackson Powers Johnson. So we will go ahead and take the Oregon center to Pittsburgh. For Miami, Cooper DeJean for Charlie and Chop Robinson for Lance. Consensus mock has Graham Barton for Duke. The analysis has Mims, the tackle. So it really could be anybody, which is why I'm putting Brock Bowers. Man, imagine Brock Bowers in this offense. Would be incredible. Perfect. And it's also a need. So that works out great. Pick 22, the Eagles. Charlie has them with Nate Wiggins. Lance has them with trading out, so that doesn't help. The consensus mock has Kool-Aid McKinstry. The question becomes Wiggins or McKinstry. Analysis says Kool-Aid. Interesting, by a lot. Although Wiggins is projected higher on all of these boards. So in the end, I do think it is Nate Wiggins. So Nate Wiggins at 22. The Texans at 23. Chris Jenkins. It seems like the D tackle class is kind of all over the place right now, and it's kind of been that way for the last 4 months. Like no one can really tell who's going to go where. Byron Murphy has kind of solidified himself as DT1, but DT2 is like all over the place. So Chris Jenkins from Michigan is available there. Lance's trade doesn't really help here. The consensus mock, Newton, the D tackle from Illinois. The analysis is Newton. Let's give it to Newton. But Cooper DeJean's still hanging out there at pick 24. So we'll see where he ends up going. To Dallas, who all of a sudden needs tackle help. Charlie has him taking Tyler Gotton from Oklahoma. Mims for Lance, because I do think Tyler Gotton has already been taken in his mock draft. No. Okay, he just has him over him. That's fine. Oh no, he's already been taken. Tyler Gotton. All right, so that's the case. Let's give him Tyler Gotton from Oklahoma. Pick 24 to the Dallas Cowboys. Pick 25, the Green Bay Packers. Charlie has Jordan Morgan. Lance Zierlein has Graham Barton. So again, both tackles. The consensus mock has Cooper DeJean there, and then the grind the mocks has Mims is probably the next best guy, and the big board has Mims as the next best guy, and the analysis wants who? Tyler Nubin. Interesting. The safety from Minnesota. I think you go Cooper DeJean here from Iowa. He falls too far. This is perfect for him. Excellent. That'd be a great pick for Green Bay, man, to get a guy of that caliber at pick 25. Be incredible. All right, to the home of the $100 million Baker Mayfield, the Buccaneers. Charlie Campbell has them taking Khalil McKinstry at pick 26. That seems about right. And so does Lance. Let's just pile on here. Khalil McKinstry, boom, to Tampa Bay. Arizona. Johnny Newton from Illinois, or is that his actual first name? Is that what they call John Newton? Johnny Newton? I don't know. I'll learn the names later. Again, D tackle is kind of far down the list for me right now. I'm still getting through the opposite side of the ball. Lance has Jackson Powers Johnson. He's already gone. So both those guys are gone. Consensus mock has Chop Robinson with his actual name, which I can't pronounce, from Penn State. Analysis says Graham Barton. All right. Yeah. Or Mims. I do think if Mims is available, Mims goes 27 to Arizona. Buffalo. The further we go down this list, the back half of the draft, the back half of the first round is always kind of a crapshoot. Pick 27 to 32 is throw darts at the board to see what happens, because you just really never know. More than you already don't know. Buffalo at pick 28. Charlie has Xavier Worthy there. Lance has them trading up, so it doesn't help. A.D. Mitchell from Texas is being talked about there. The next best player on the big board is Brian Thomas. Brian Thomas still being there, and from grinding the mocks, Brian Thomas. I think what does the analysis want? Brian Thomas. Yeah, I think that's the right move. Brian Thomas. Detroit. Kamari Lassiter from Georgia, the cornerback for Charlie, and Darius Robinson, the Missouri the defensive lineman for Lance. Not sure how I feel about that. God, yeah, some of these guys are just like, are you even sure they're first round picks? And it's Rakestraw, the cornerback from Missouri, is on the consensus mock. And the fans seem to want him. All right, Detroit fans, you get what you want. All right, we'll make that happen. Where is he on this board, though? Wow. Yeah, look at the difference between his rank and ADP, right? His rank for PFF at 42, his ADP is at the wrap. All right, let's do it. Rakestraw to Detroit. Baltimore, pick 30. We're starting to get into the weeds here. We're in the weeds. Darius Robinson from Missouri for Charlie Campbell, and a trade here for Lance doesn't really help. Keon Coleman in the consensus mock. The fans want AD Mitchell. I think AD Mitchell definitely goes above Keon Coleman after that 4.61, which again, we kind of talked about right now, that 4.61 40. Insane when you look at the gauntlet time, and his gauntlet time is incredible. Oh man, I wish I had more access to the tracking data. I'd love to do some research on that, but I don't. So we have to go by what we got. Let's go with AD Mitchell. I think that's a fine pick there to Baltimore. San Fran. Charlie has Mims going here, and Lance has Newton going there. Both of those guys are gone. Consensus mock has Jordan Morgan there from Arizona. I think that's possible. However, Graham Barton is still there. I think Graham Barton does go before Jordan Morgan. Graham Barton pick 31 to San Fran. And then we're at KC. I pick 32. Pick 32 is a fucking crapshoot. Charlie has Xavier Leggett from South Carolina. Lance has Xavier Worthy from Texas. Chiefs fans want Ladd McConkey, which I know Eric Eager would be very happy with. But AD Mitchell, Ladd McConkey, or Keon Coleman. And the consensus has Xavier Worthy. I'm like, can you pass up a guy who just ran a 4.21? I don't know, but we won't for this one. We'll give it to him. Where does Trevor have him ranked? Let's take a look. Wow, pick 69 or rank 69. All right, we're taking him though to wrap out this first round. All right, so that's the first mock draft. Obviously 100% accurate. Gonna copy this image and download this image. Download it so I feel special. But that's the first one of the season. We'll do this every Monday, and we'll play around with this. Again, this was how I think it's going to go right now. A lot's going to change, so we'll do another one of these on Monday, post free agency. But right now, I feel pretty good about this, and I'm happy to. So the reason why I use, I may have already gone. So I'm tired. It's late. Why I use Lance and Charlie. I have a lot of friends in the know. I can ask about a lot of these things, but I don't want to be that friend that's ask, who the Jags taking at 17. Like no one wants that, right? But there are people I trust. Charlie Campbell, Lance Zierlein, Trevor Sikkema, but he hasn't released a mock draft in about a month, so I'm not going to use that. Dane Brugler at The Athletic does a great job. I know he only releases one a year. But Eric Galco, who runs the Shrine Game, always has a very good mock draft. So, but a lot of those guys don't release until much later. So for the guys who release consistent mock drafts, Charlie, Trevor, Lance, and then Dane. So I like to use their stuff. They've been pretty accurate in the past. And then I take what I hear at Indy and from my friends. And I build this out. But I feel pretty good about this one right now. We'll see how the next 72 hours shake up. But we'll be back tomorrow morning, talk about all the free agency news from Monday. And then I will bring in a draft expert for Wednesday, and we'll talk about offensive line play, which I'm very excited to really dive more into the offensive line. I've already done Joe Alt. I've done the Penn State tackle. I've done Mims. But there's like 7 guys projected for the first round. So I'm excited to really get my final grades on all of them. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Enjoy your Monday. Enjoy the wild ride that is the legal tampering period, which is a bunch of bullshit. But I'll see you guys tomorrow.